So some bikes are more special than others. They're the ones that get given all the good bits, all the good hand-me-downs from World Superbikes, MotoGP, etc. Typically, they've got lots of carbon fibre on them, the best brakes, the best aero, the best performance outright. They are awesome bikes. They're the kind of bikes you can also see in a showroom, but chances are they've got big price tags attached to them. They're what we would call a homologation special, a bike that's been built pretty much to give a manufacturer an edge when it comes to racing. And there are quite a few of them out there, and we've picked 3 of the very best examples on the market right now to put through this year's ultimate sports bike test.
That looks mega, doesn't it?
How arrogant are some people? They turn up on a track day, put their own bloody stickers on the bike. So what's the plan? Well, we're here at Donington, the weather's holding out, and the idea is we're going to go and spin some laps on each of the bikes. We just kitted them out with Michelin's Power Slick 2s, awesome tyres, perfect for these machines, these conditions. Hopefully we can get a good grasp of them. We want to know the good bits, the bad bits, the stuff that leaves us mind blown. We want to know all of that. And once we've got that, we're going to ship up, put on some Cup 2s and head over to the Isle of Man, where we've got 2 fantastic days of testing lined up around the island, the world's fastest road race course. So that's it, we've had 8 sessions here on track at Donington Park on these 3 bikes. It's been absolutely awesome, and we're now going to reflect on them. So we're going to choose the best bit and the worst bit of each bike. So Timmy, pressure's on you. Best bit and worst bit of this?
Best bit for me is the power delivery. The way it ramped up, it just seems like the motor spins up so fast. Very linear,
yeah,
but it just keeps going and going and going, and it just feels like an absolute missile. So that would be the best point. And if I may add, brakes were awesome as well. Brakes are so good, no ABS.
Yeah.
Worst bit, when I first jumped on it, I didn't like the size of the bike. It just felt big, so much room. It felt like a mile to get my knee down, and I just felt like very distant from the tarmac. Like the connection wasn't a very nice feeling. Having said that, I've ridden it a couple more times, and to be honest with you, I got quite into it. I sort of got to understand it all, and I haven't really got a bad point, to be fair.
Well, I'll wade in with the bad points. So the worst thing about this bike for me is probably the vagueness of the front end. So it feels like you're riding the bike, you're sat quite high, and there's this disconnect, especially kind of coming out of the corners. Like the power, it's got so much power, which is awesome, but you're lifting that stroke in the suspension,
yeah,
you know, the fork leg, and it just feels a little bit vague, a little bit, I don't know, like I'd want this bike pitched a bit
just
more,
a bit held down on the front.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. It just seems to squat at the back and go light at the front, doesn't it? Yeah.
Some bikes like to ride like that. I mean, the thing is, it's perfectly agile, it handles great, changes direction really fast, so it's weird. It does all those things well, but just the feel, maybe you can dial into the feel of it, but the feel of the front end to me is not fantastic. The best bit, you've already mentioned power, so I'm going to say tech, because the tech on this bike is absolutely mind-blowing. It's got brilliant traction control system, the wheelie control. It's got just an abundance of features. They're easy to tap into. I like the fact that on the fly, you know, with the DTC, the traction control, you can kind of plus or minus that between a range of 15 on the go. It's just brilliant. Everything works so fantastically well. And, you know, as you've said, backed up with that engine, it's a corker. So that's BMW done. Ducati.
So we've got Ducati's new V4R. It's the 1000cc.
It is.
Which is a bit different to the 1100s that we've been riding recently. My first go on one of these, and as always, it's blown me away, to be fair. Ducati's they just build them right, don't they? But the standout thing for me was like the electronics, the throttle connection was so silky smooth. So yeah, that was the first like major thing I noticed, and the gearbox, banging it down the gears, just seemed to, like the engine braking strategy, the anti-wheelie strategy, they've just got it nailed.
Yeah.
So that's my best thing. Worst thing, flipping heck. It really is hard to choose a...
The fuel tank didn't fill itself up. We had to go and pop and fill that. That's unacceptable, isn't it?
Yeah, the tyres don't change themselves. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a hard bike to fault.
It really is.
It's a hard bike to fault, and I think it is one of those bikes as well that the more laps you do on this, the more you come to grasp that you can rev it through to like 16,500 RPM.
Keeps going, doesn't it?
Yeah, you think it's wrong, you think it's cruel, but it wants you to go. And actually, it's not as punchy low down. Maybe that's a negative thing, you know, with it. Unless you're working the engine, if you're sub 10,000 RPM, you're not getting the best out of this bike. It likes to be 13 to 16,000 pretty much everywhere, which again seems wrong, but that's where this bike is in its sweet spot. I think the whole package is great. The brakes alone are fantastic, aren't they?
Yeah, brakes are awesome. No ABS interference at all.
No, you just don't have to think about it. And again, we've ruined this pick one thing, haven't we?
Oh, I've got one bad point.
Okay.
The foot pegs are a little bit too low, and I kept scraping my toe sliders. Didn't scrape my toe sliders
You've got fat feet.
On any of the other bikes, but I did with this one straight away. So obviously the foot pegs are a little bit lower, but
yeah, it's
doesn't cause you a lot of trouble, does it?
I was about to say, if that's your worst point on a bike,
we'll take it.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? So yeah, cracking machine. Moving on. Trusty old Fireblade. Old as in 3 years old now. 2020 this came out.
She's not looking old though, is she? Not in this 30th anniversary paint job.
I like it.
Which is, I'm into it.
Yeah, so it's a proven package now as well, isn't it? You know, on the world scene, BSB, club races, TT.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of, you know, it's proven, especially in Superstock. And,
yeah, it's
you know,
Honda Cup, isn't it?
It
now,
is,
Superstock.
yeah. So we know it's a great package, but again, the best bit, what is it?
Chassis by a mile. It's small. It's very precise, it's nimble, it fits me like a glove, to be fair. Those two feel a little bit bigger. This one just feels tight and I'm on top of it and I feel like man of it. Really good front end feel, getting into corners. Just feel in it through the corner and you can just nail it on the exit and it just goes where you look. So
worst bit?
Worst bit, front brake ABS, diabolical.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to say it.
No. It's been said so many times, that's the sad thing. I mean, this bike was updated as well last year, and I think there was a tweak to the braking algorithms, but I mean, it's still so far off the mark. When you know what those two bikes can do on the brakes, you just think this has got the hardware literally in it. So it's just someone's put the numbers in wrong, basically. They've gone too safe with it. There are 2 ABS modes in this, even with the least intrusive setup. It's scary. You can come into some corners here, you're on the brakes, and you just can't commit into them like you would on the other two, knowing you've 100% got the brakes in your hand. So
I think if they got that sorted, this thing would be nearly unstoppable.
Yeah,
it'd be right up there. I mean, it almost is really, isn't it?
Oh, it's a cracking piece.
The road gearing's still a bit tall, isn't it?
Yeah, that's something which caught me out. I've not ridden one in a year, and I was like, this bike is broken. Like, why is it not going? And I was in corners where on some of the other bikes I was in second. You need to be in first on this. There's no kind of like, you could maybe be in first, you could maybe be in second, you need to be in first. But then it's raw, isn't it? The power on this thing is it's electrified. I'd say it feels the most, alive, aggressive. When that power kicks in, it's furious and exciting. And
yeah, when you've got it in the right gear and you get it singing, it lets you know, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the sound as well from this is beautiful, isn't it? So, but I think, good. For me, I think power's the biggest plus. We both agree on the braking.
Chassis.
Yeah, sweet bike. They're all great bikes. We've got about 10 minutes before we've got to get on the road, so these bikes now got to get loaded up in the van. We've got a ferry to catch from Liverpool for part 2 of the test, so away we go. So this is a place that needs zero introduction, probably the most famous pit lane in the world. Of course, it's the home of the TT. We're over here with these fantastic machines. I kind of realized we've not really introduced them or why we brought them along. So Timmy, you're going to give us a quick overview of what makes them so special.
So first up, we've got the Ducati V4R, the 1000cc, and what makes this bike so special is the engine. Ducati are claiming that with the right factory exhaust and with the right oil, you're looking at 240 horsepower. So next up, we've got the BMW M1000RR, the slipperiest bike on the planet, and BMW are saying that with this new revised aerodynamic package alone, you're looking at an extra 8 kilometers an hour. And last but not least, we've got the Honda Fireblade SP. It's in this beautiful 30th anniversary edition colours. And what makes this bike so special is the chassis. It comes from the MotoGP RCV. I don't really need to elaborate any more on that. The chassis speaks for itself.
So we've got the bikes, we've got the venue, but we've also got no idea which way this track goes, the best places to go. So we called in a bit of help. Unfortunately, John McGuinness and all the good guys weren't available, but my mate Joe was. It's really quite hard to put into words the experience we've just had. We've had 2 solid days on the island. It's blown my mind. For me, I've never been over here other than when the TT's on and experienced what this place has got to offer. So before I even start talking about the bikes, I just want to say thank you to the Isle of Man because it has been awesome. The people have been awesome. The roads have been mind-blowing. We'll come into that later, but what an experience, eh?
For me, my first time on the island. Well,
is it really?
Little white lie, came in 2019, it was foggy, flew home on the same day, didn't see a thing. So this is my first real experience of the island. And people say they fall in love at first sight, and I have.
With Joe?
Amazing.
Fallen in love with Joe at first sight, haven't you?
I met this mush as well. He's not a bad lad.
You both got stuck in. I was impressed.
Yeah, you've been a good tour guide. We're here in one piece, big smiles on the faces, and we're going to explain why. So I guess let's talk through these bikes. So we were toying with the idea of making this a competition, you know, ranking these bikes first to third or whatever. Obviously we started this event off, you know, with Donington Park on track, and then we come over to the island. The truth of it is, we actually just want to explain what you can experience from all of these bikes, because they're all really special, they're all fantastic, they're all mind-blowing, but in different ways. So, I don't know, let's start with the Honda. The Honda's an interesting bike. I'll start by saying, it's like Marmite. When you are riding that bike on the mountain, no speed limits, you can commit into the corners, commit with the revs, you know, it's electrifying. It's so exciting. It's the most charismatic, engaging, mind-blowing machine you can ride, really. But through kind of 2/3 of the island where you've got speed limits and stuff like that, it's not the easiest of bikes to get on with. It's a little bit cramped, especially when you're at slower speeds. You feel it more on your wrists, you feel it in your knees, you're not moving around in the seat. And I think that to really experience the joys of that bike, you've got to be pedaling it. You've got to be committed, you've got to be going for it. That's my opinion. What's your take?
Yeah, exactly the same, Bruce. For me, initially the bike feels a little bit, obviously I'm tall, I'm 6'2" and a bit, and for someone my height, I feel cramped on the bike at slow speeds. So commuting, using it every day, for me it'd be a little bit of a challenge, to be honest with you. It wouldn't be a comfortable thing to use, but as soon as we got up on the mountain there and we were able to get the thing opened up and start getting it into the bends, that bike makes complete sense. And I think I said to you, it's like a 600 with a 1000 engine, isn't it? The characteristics, the way it works, it needs to be opened up, needs a rev range using. Otherwise, it's not the most user-friendly machine.
Feels like it's just been built for the racetrack.
Yeah.
I mean, it performs so well at Donington, and like you say, around here in the 30-mile-an-hour zone, it's not the best by a good chunk. Get out on this road when it's open, get it singing in the right gears, and it's a missile, innit? It feels awesome in the corners. So yeah, that's what it's made for, really, innit?
Do you know one thing I will say about it? It's the only bike in this trio that's actually got the Öhlins electronic suspension. And I would say that's really kind of giving it an advantage over the other two. I like the fact, you know, you can quickly flick through the settings, you know, the modes as you ride in, and alter the damping characteristics of that. So I couldn't believe one part of the track that was just ridiculously bumpy, like the Ginger Hall section there. And on the other two bikes, they're so firm, and you just have to deal with it. On that Honda, you can almost just on the fly change the settings, and I like that about it. It was in that respect, you know, despite us saying it's small and this, that, and the other, it's actually quite a comfy bike in terms of setup and whatnot. You know, it rolls nicely. It seems to absorb the road really quite well. So I think that's a positive. And the other positive thing I want to say was, on track, we didn't really have the best of experiences with the brakes. Like we mentioned this earlier, you kind of go powering into a bend, you want to brake and know you're going to stop. On the roads, to be fair, especially around here, the way you have to ride, you almost have to be a little bit set up for the corner. You can't do any last minute daft stuff. The brakes weren't too bad. I actually found them quite quite decent around it.
Very rarely do you have to brake as hard on the road as what you do on the track, so
Yeah.
I don't think I felt the ABS kicking once on the road.
No, it's been good, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't been hanging around either, have we?
No, I don't think so. Well, he's been a bit steady, but
Yeah.
apart from that, but I mean, Joe, have you got anything else to add on the Honda?
No, I think it's what you would expect from Honda. It's a very Japanese Honda product. It's quality. It does everything you would expect it to do. It's ram-packed with technology. For me, just personally, in a nutshell, it's just a little bit too small for me to find that as a usable bike that I would personally go and buy.
So BMW or Ducati? Timmy?
BM.
What are you going to say about it?
Good brakes, fast motor, roomy.
Incredible to look at. Again, rammed with
Firm.
technology.
I find it real firm, you know. You feel every bump through it. I don't know. I don't know if it's lightweight wheels or whatever, but it's got a different feel about it.
Yeah.
I feel like you feel every bump, and the change of direction is so much faster, in my opinion, than the others. Really quick to change.
Yeah.
See, I think the Honda's faster.
No, not for me.
That's because you've got big levers though, isn't it? Little bike, big levers, you can power that around.
I find the Honda is like a little flea, whereas the BM, it feels like it's progressive. It changes direction quickly, but
It feels light.
but it just feels like it's nice and progressive. The Honda feels like, well, I'm in. Very, very fast to turn.
Do you know, I think what it is with the BMW is that you sit up high on it, it's got big wide bars, so it has got lightweight carbon fibre wheels. You know, it's a relatively light package all in. But I think the way the weight sits means the initial part of the turn is probably quite quick. I actually feel that the Honda, just to bring that back into it, is probably better the second part of the lean, if that makes sense. So I think the initial part on the BMW, it seems to fall quicker.
Yeah.
But then when you're in on the Honda, it feels like you're really in, you know.
Yeah.
But the big difference, and that's the thing, the big difference is that front end. I mean, what's your take on the BMW's front end?
I quite like it going in. Coming out is where I'm a little bit uneasy with it. Just when you really start winding it in and hammering the throttle, it just feels like it goes light on the front.
Yeah.
Just coming out some of these fast corners, like here for example, when we're flying through here, just feels like it goes a little bit squirmy on the front on the exit.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's tracking as nice as the other two. But once you've got your head around it and you've had a bit of time on it, you soon start to figure it out, don't you?
I think the simple ergonomics of the bike dictate that you sit as a rider, you actually sit so high up on that bike.
Like an armchair, isn't it?
If you took the fairings off that, it wouldn't be far for super naked. Do you know what I mean? If you put bars on it instead of clip-ons, like the riding style is a bit that way on, you know? And I think that completely transforms your perspective and your connection to the front wheel. So again, to bring the Honda back into it, where you're down over the front wheel, your weight's over the front wheel, there's probably a better relation there, shorter forks and everything. But on the BMW, it's a big bike, it's a tall bike, and I think there's a little bit of disconnect. So, I mean, pitching...
I'm on my tiptoes.
Are you?
And like normally road bikes, I'm like flat-footed.
Yeah.
Race bikes, you're always on your tiptoes, and I'm straight away on my tiptoes with that BM. So that says something as well, really.
In contrast to that, it fits perfectly for me.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm so comfortable on that thing. I could use that every day as a commuting bike.
Yeah.
Because the space, I rode that for 3 or 4 hours yesterday morning, and at no point did my wrists hurt, my knees didn't hurt, my feet weren't uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Just so much more, such a nice place to be. And I tell you the other thing that surprised me, I was expecting with the looks of it, it's very, very striking.
Yeah.
Looks aggressive, doesn't it? It almost lacks a little bit to deliver on what it looks like, if that makes sense.
Characterless.
Characterless. When I got on it, I was kind of wanting it to feel like I was riding a lunatic.
plain
and
Jane,
it was,
isn't it?
very vanilla. Very vanilla.
Yeah. It's noise.
Which was a little bit disappointing, to be honest with you. It didn't strike me the same way. But as a riding experience, it also didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
I obviously haven't had a chance to ride all 3 of our bikes on the track. I'm only riding them on the road. So my feedback is, as a day-to-day or a weekend, people aren't buying a bike like that to use it and commute on. But
No.
As a weekend bike, lovely thing to use.
Do you know what I think the counter argument to that would be? I actually think of the free bikes, it's the easiest to get on and ride. So it's not intimidating. That engine is really good low down through town, and it's also ballistic when you get it wound up. It doesn't kind of, I don't know, punch out the same degree of character or excitement or thrill, but it's so fast. And the other thing is, the electronics on it are so brilliant. Like, you can wind the throttle open on that thing, trust the wheelie control is going to keep the front wheel just skimming the ground.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're shifting up through gears, do you know what? This thing's got me. I trust the traction control, I trust the wheelie control. I'm just going to go for it. I'm not worried that the bike's going to peak in power or do this or do that. It's consistent, it's easy, and I think, like I say, it doesn't matter if you're going slow or fast on it, it just works well at all paces, you know. And I think that's the thing for the BMW for me. If you want a really, really, really fast bike that's easy to ride, handles well, looks decent, stops well, it's got good brakes, great tech, that's what I'd say it is. If you want character, I think you have to look to the Ducati.
Yeah, the Ducati 100% for me is the #1 bike. I have absolutely loved every second on that thing. It's exactly what I would expect a Ducati to do. It's as incredible to ride as it is to look at. You know, the thing looks phenomenal, it's full of character, it's soulful, you just feel like you're part of that bike, every little vibration, and just an incredible machine. Absolutely, I'm blown away with that, blown away. And do you know what also has impressed me? The level of the rider aids, the electronics, the gearbox is absolutely seamless, isn't it? It's phenomenal.
Gearbox in a different league to the other two, isn't it?
Yeah, power delivery, the way the thing sings, you know, the tech that's built into that bike as well is astounding. I'm so impressed.
So smooth at the bottom end, it almost leads you into thinking that you're on a smaller capacity bike to the other two. But Christ, once you get it wound up, it is a missile, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think my only criticism would be if you were in real slow traffic, right at the bottom of the rev range, you have a little bit of that initial judder, don't you? That's the only thing that I can put as a mark against it, is that if you were filtering through traffic or you're in a real urban environment, it's probably not the most user-friendly from that point of view.
It gets hot as well, doesn't it?
And it does get, there's a lot of heat transfer coming up under your legs, so yeah, on a summer's day you know about it. But again, do you buy a bike like that to ride it at 30 mile an hour? No.
No. You bring it over here and do 150 miles per hour, don't you?
Over the mountain, absolutely, yeah. But even when we were doing 40, 50 miles an hour, the thing's just a nice place to be. Again, I was really, really surprised. A lot of people I've spoken to, the Panigales are small. They're not. No. They're not. I'm 6'2" and a bit, and I'm comfortable on that bike.
It's a comfy ride, isn't it? Like, it's soft, like the seat's soft. It feels, like I was saying about the BMW being quite a firm ride, you feel a lot. And obviously the Honda's quite small and cramped. That is just a nice riding position. It's soft, suspension's nice and plush.
There's been a lot of time gone into the ergonomics of that and getting the rider comfortable on it.
It's plush, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the hard thing is the price tag.
But none of them are cheap. And do you know what? I'd almost go on to say that for me, the Ducati is that halfway house between your Honda, that's really focused, and your BMW, that's maybe not got that same degree of sporting commitment, out the box, as the Fireblade. It's that bike that's right in the middle, that does everything well, and it excites you. I mean, the crackle that thing makes when you're shifting down the box as well. I mean, you went for a blast, me and Timmy were stood around, and I was jealous at the side of the road. In fact, I was on the phone to someone at the time, and I'm like, what the hell is that? It sounds like it should be on a racetrack. It looks like it should be on a racetrack. People are going to be watching this thinking, they're just bigging up Ducati, but trust me, that bike, if it was made by any manufacturer, I'd be saying the same. It's got an exceptional engine, it looks amazing, it sounds amazing, the tech is fantastic. It's a beautiful bike, and to strip it all back, when we started this test, we said we were picking the most special sports bikes, production sports bikes on the market right now. And in my head, that's what it is.
Yeah. Track and road, It ticks all the boxes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Interestingly, the bike that's been the biggest head turner has been the BMW. Whenever we've stopped anywhere,
Yeah.
the BMW has been the one that people have come to take pictures of.
Yeah.
The carbon disc covers, the wing, all of that styling is what's been attractive to the people on the street that wanted to see the bikes.
Well, they haven't been stopping to look at you, have they, Joe?
No, neither you. Must be you, Tim.
Actually, Tim has been getting a bit of
think that
attention,
you're
hasn't
your
he?
brother.
They must think I'm Tom, that's what it is, isn't it? Tell you what I like though, when you sat in the cockpit, that BMW, the dash, and it's built in with carbon around it.
Yeah.
That is cooler than any of the other two bikes.
Yeah.
Do you know, I noticed as well when you're riding over the mountain, that BMW, you're in it.
Yeah.
You're in the bike.
Good wind coverage.
The big bubble at the front, even for a big bloke like me, you're tucked in. You're in
Yeah.
part of it, which I like, where on the Honda I felt like I'm perched on top of the bike.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
nice to feel like an integral part
Feels like
of
you
it.
sat over the front wheel on the Honda,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Like
but
clamps like that.
It does make absolute sense when you use it for the application it's been designed for.
Yeah, because
They've
if you're
done an
hanging
astounding
off
job.
if you're hanging off the side of a bike through a corner, you don't need a screen. Do you
No.
know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's what it's meant for. But what's
big
interesting as well is, bringing it back again to what this test is all about, street bikes that have been made for the track, basically. It's interesting that they've produced a road bike in carbon fibre, because most homologation specials, well, you'd think that a race team would get them, whip the fairings off, and probably put their own carbon fibre on. So what's weird with the BMW is they've spent a load of money on the carbon fairings, but then they've put maybe not the most fancy forks in them. So whereas with the Ducati you've got fancy O-lins, that are, conventionally adjusted O-lins, and on the Honda you've got the electronically adjusted O-lins. The suspension on the BMW is almost the kind of, I don't know, it's good and it's been decent, but almost that's the lacking point with that bike in my mind. Like they've spent money everywhere else other than on the setup. There's nothing fancy about it, because again, arguably you'd think you'd buy this bike as a race team, whip that stuff out, put your track stuff in it, but then in complete contrast, they've kitted it out with carbon fibre road fairings, which is brilliant. It is a proper head turner, as you say.
For me, the BMW is the best looking bike there, hands down. It works, it looks slick, that carbon is a beautiful finish, isn't it? The weave is it looks outstanding. For me, the Ducati's a Marmite bike, I think. The Ducatis of old, the old, 748s and 996s and 916 was a really pretty motorbike. I think the Panigale's ugly, but in a pretty way, if that makes any sense.
It doesn't, but
yeah,
we'll go with
it looks very unconventional, doesn't it? The back of the bike with the exhausts all twisted round and shown up. That's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and some people are going to think that's incredibly ugly. I think it looks ace. I think it looks mean. It looks like a very, very purposeful stance. Like you say, it's like a bull, ready to go.
Isn't it?
For me, Honda are just behind a little bit now. I think they need to just up the game a little bit in the styling department. It looks trick, it looks slick. Obviously, it's a very competitive bike in the stock championship as we're seeing at the minute, and it's been a weapon around here. But I think the aero pack needs to move on a little bit. Maybe it doesn't need to go as extreme as what BMW have done. That's a very extreme front.
I think the one thing we can all agree on is that these bikes have got all very different directions and focuses and all the rest of it, but they're all unique, they're all special in their own way, and I like that. I want to see more manufacturers going down this route thinking, how do we think outside the box? How do we move our packages on? And I think that all those machines we've been testing, they all deserve a load of kudos. That's it, job done. You've got to take on the bikes. But one thing I do want to mention are the tyres we've been running around on. So they're not actually the right tyres for this test. We were meant to be running on Michelin Power GPs, which is kind of like a sporty, track-capable road tyre. And we ended up running on the Cup 2s, which have been absolutely exceptional, haven't they?
Outstanding.
I mean, we were kind of like, are these going to be too much for the road? They're a bit more track orientated, so they're road legal, but they've been epic. We have abused them in a way a lot of tyres really couldn't take it. And around here, we've had a bit of everything. Super fast roads, hard driving out of corners. I've not had a single moment
Bit
on
of
them.
knee down action, haven't we?
Bit of knee down, tyres have been mint, the island's been mint, and also the owners of the Cregny Bar that have kindly let us do this video in their balcony on their premises. So big thanks to them and to everyone really. It's been a cracking trip, really enjoyed the bikes, the island, it's been awesome, can't wait to do it all again.